Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who on some Thursdays releases a video that I know might not get as many clicks as other videos. You know, I reviewed Beyonce and everyone wants Beyonce, and I reviewed Rock Marciano and everyone wants to hear for some reason what I say about Rock Marciano. But even though those albums have gotten me all these clicks, and you know, I mean, just so you know, the economics of YouTube, like I've made over $100 on my Beyonce video. Like, it's wild. Despite that fact, my favorite album this week isn't by either of them. It is by Gesaffelstein. And I'm saying that knowing that I don't know if he likes his name pronounced Gesaffelstein or Gesaffelstein, and his new album, Gamma. And in a better world, his album would be just as anticipated as the other two, and I would get just as many clicks. But hey, I'm trying to make this a better world. If you don't know Gesaffelstein's work, well, you probably actually do. But if you don't know his solo work, you really need to check it out. He's he's a French guy, even though his name is Gesaffelstein, named Mike Levy, and he's probably best known, at least for me, as being part of what I call the Yeezus coaching tree, which means he was one of those producers who was there in Paris when Kanye West was making Yeezus, along with Daft Punk, along with Mike Dean, along with Arca. I don't know how Ye did it, but he got all of these great producers, and truly, he is like one of the best electronic producers in the world. I'm just positive of that. And his solo album of a couple years ago was really good. His album with Skye was ridiculously good. Very few people, again, it seemed people are sleeping on it. He's also really well known for being on that, for producing, what was that album by... My Dear Melancholic by The Weeknd. You know, he did most of the production on that. So it's not like he's unknown, but it's sort of like he's just not fully appreciated. And if this album doesn't do it, I don't know. So, you know, I was talking about Daft Punk and about how, you know, Daft Punk was on the Kanye album. And there's a sort of thing, a sort of pet theory I've had about Daft Punk, which is that they were always just looking to be Michael Jackson. Like, that was their goal, was to make popular, I mean, not personally, not like in their personal lives, but artistically, to make the kind of joy and dance, and intelligent joy and intelligent dance that Michael Jackson was able to do. I think that's why they relied so heavy on Pharrell. I think that's why they work so well with The Weeknd, is they're just trying to find like someone to be the voice to their dream of this perfection in dance and pop music. This Gesaffelstein album makes me think of a different group, and this is because he's working with a singer, another improbably German-named Frenchman, Jan Wagner, and what they create together is very, very Depeche Mode-y. It now seems to me that maybe this was what Gesaffelstein was waiting for all along, a lead singer who could be the gay hand to his gore. Now, if you don't know Depeche Mode, they're a British new wave synth pop band, and there have been a lot of members, but there's basically two. There's Martin Gore, who does everything. He's the genius. He's the person behind it all. And then there's David Gahan, who's the famous lead singer, personal Jesus, and kind of that mixture of the forward-facing frontman and the kind of backwards-facing producer is what makes Depeche Mode Depeche Mode. And I like Depeche Mode now. But growing up, I don't like using gendered insults, okay? It's not okay. They're ridiculous, first of all, because they imply weakness. And any of you who know women know that women have inherently much greater strength and pain tolerance than men do. They're just, you know, proportionally smaller, right? But as far as strength goes, it's totally ridiculous. But this is what I used to say when I was in high school, before I was elevated, before I was feminist pilled, whatever the opposite of a red pill is, before I was not insufferable prick pilled, okay? I just used to say that Depeche Mode were for pussies. That's what I used to say, okay? I'm not proud of it, but that's what I used to say. And every once in a while, I would think, but what if they weren't? Because it's not like their music wasn't good, but there's just something about it. Maybe it's because most of the people I knew who liked it were women or something, but it was like a block up until I met my first girlfriend in college, where she kind of showed me how good of a band they really are. But what I like about Gesaffelstein is it doesn't have any of that. This album, Gamma by Gesaffelstein, doesn't have any of that. It's just, has all of the good of Depeche Mode without any of that I don't know. I'm not going to call it pussitude because that doesn't make sense, but sort of without whatever that was that made me feel distanced from Depeche Mode. Because this charismatic deep voice of Jan Wagner is just beautiful. It does everything that Gahan's voice does. It has what I think we could just call a campy gravitas. And it goes perfectly with this really hard-hitting synth pop. Is the thing. It's like, it's kind of gothy, it's kind of poppy, it's kind of indie, but it's like synthwave made by one of the people responsible for Send It Up off of Yeezus. One of the people responsible for My Dear Melancholic. One of the people responsible for New Slaves, okay? Like, wow. What if we mix all those things together with an amazing album that has these themes of alienation and mental instability? It's basically about digital alienation and mental instability, and a little bit about the loss of love. So before I get to my stamp, smash the like bucket. If you like this video, say AVAA. That means awesome video as always. Put that anywhere in your comments. I will give it a heart. I've been missing a couple days. I need to go back and read all those comments. And, hit the little bell because I usually do live premieres and stuff. So for my stamp, I want to talk about this song within 1 minute because I want to cut this down into a YouTube short because I feel like everybody needs to hear this song, okay? So get ready for me to try to describe the song Psycho. Psycho by Gesaffelstein is one of the craziest and coolest songs I have heard this year. It is essentially just a drum solo, a synthesizer drum solo. It is absolute madness. I can't figure out if the guy's playing it all programmed in a drum, like in a computer, or if he's playing a drum machine. But whatever it is, it has the feeling of like a great Led Zeppelin drum solo while also being like a gnarly Daft Punk super cool badass synthesizer sound. It almost has like a Send It Up by Kanye beat to it, you know? Like Send It Up of course was co-produced by Gesaffelstein, who produced this song. It is just insane. I don't know how it is. I don't know how it's so well paced, but that's what it is. I did terrible. I did my best for a 1 minute thing, but all of that is true. That's what I feel. I'm no longer pinned in by the 1 minute thing of YouTube Shorts. I'm trying to adapt, everybody. So speaking of New Slaves, the album opens with the track Digital Slaves. Nice kind of chugging rhythm, this beautiful, cool voice. This is the most fun on the album because it actually breaks into a section of what something sounds a lot like Oingo Boingo. So if you don't know, Oingo Boingo was Danny Elfman's first band. And I like Oingo Boingo a lot. I own, 4 of their CDs. I had a weird friend in college who brought me a plastic bag with all of their music and gave it to me once. Anyways, weird guy. Nice guy, weird guy. But Oingo Boingo, it's like, okay, you can't listen to Oingo Boingo now if you're sick of Danny Elfman's soundtracks, which I am, even though I think he's done some great work. Pee-wee's Big Adventure, for example. And also, like, Oingo Boingo is just, like, for nerds. So, including me. So, like, what if Oingo Boingo was for cool kids? That's what this is. Bring out the fun, jump into the void. I'll bring out the toys, jump over the rift. What you gonna do before we're all gone? I'm gonna have fun with the digital scums. Awesome lyrics. The digital scums? That's actually kind of Devo-ish in its lyricism right there. It's a beautiful, just rocking song. I talk a lot about my baby because she's learning about music as she's growing. She's 19 months old. And this album is probably the favorite album that I've ever reviewed. She loves the sound of synthesizers, arpeggiated synthesizers. She just dances the whole time that she's listening to this. On the song Hard Dreams, there's a sound that I think I know what it is. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to point up there, and I might have a second video attached to this where I find the Zoop Mania sound, which is, I think, the sound that is in the far background. So you can see me in the basement there. This cool arpeggiated off sounds, which I think comes from the Zoop Mania setting. Whiny, aggravating sounds, just a very hard Depeche Mode sound. Really, just the bass pattern in the chorus is just outrageous and great. It's high octane, great dirty atmosphere, pulsing and strong. I could talk more about this music, but I'm trying to keep this video short because with Thunderground Thursdays, it's better to have shorter videos so people feel less scared of watching it. Your Share of the Night, kind of future-y noises and like simple rhythms. It's almost like dun 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 dun. Dun dun, but in rhythm. Beautiful concept to Take Your Share of the Night. Hysteria is the first of these instrumental tracks, all based around themes of insanity, stressful, just picking up these like really stressful sounds, kind of dirty in the left side, and there's a nice quiet part that gets you built up for the dance scene. You know how sometimes dance music does that, where they get you ready for the drop, but they make you wait so long for the drop, and then the drum fill that comes in is not an expected drum fill. It's actually a much more subtle drum fill. It's a much more thought out drum fill. It's great. I suspect that Gesaffelstein's a drummer. The Urge, very cool pop sounds. Just so many cool sounds it's hard to describe. No pain, much gain. Trust no hypocrites. Red hot raw sex. Work it out. There's also a little tiny Kraftwerk Trans-Europa Express sound here. Just a little bit in the background at a certain point. And then it breaks into complete insanity. A weird 50s style song. I remember. I don't know why, but it does. Then another instrumental song around insanity, mania, very aggravating sounds. Reminds me a lot of actually of Justice, like when they try to get that kind of sound. These little horn sounds in the back, ascending notes, almost sounds like Formula One shifting cars. A beautiful like breakdown, just this cool breakdown part, just the unapologetically hard synth techno shit, just awesome sounds. Lost Love goes back into the 50s mode, almost sounds like if Twin Peaks was a French robot show. That's what this would be. These lyrics, I've been looking for my love for you. Ooh, that's a tough line. It's a great line. The Perfect has this weird sort of ow, stay, and these whiny sirens. I swear to God, there's a sample from Bonnie and Clyde by Serge Gainsbourg, or at least it's an imitation of that sound, one of the coolest sounds in pop music. If you don't know it, find it. Very menacing, these lyrics. Perfect boy with a perfect toy, perfect girl in a perfect world. Props go to Jan Wagner, because it's really hard to pronounce girl and world for French people. Very difficult words, so it's good. Then we get to that Stamp Psycho and that great drum solo thing. And then we get to Tyranny, not to be confused with Tyrant off of Beyonce's album. Kind of a Western shuffle, maybe a little bit of a filler, but slightly reminds you of Black Skinhead. And then the album ends with a nice outro called Emmett. Very low-key, backward sounds. It resolves a lot. There's also just this great kind of bittersweet quality, which is my favorite way to end an album, is slightly bittersweet. So please check out this album if you like electronic music at all, or if you like synth pop at all. Just check it out. It rules. I ask my Patreon sometimes if they want shout-outs. So Iseko and the Rat King Michael. I haven't even written his name down there, but he's getting a shout-out. Because that's what you can do when you're my Patreon, and I remember. All right. Till next time. There's the camera.